Okay, I don't know if this is like the worst idea I ever had, but I'm out at the river and it's really windy. New Age to Jesus short stories, part 16. I think it's 16. But in 2016, this was the lead up to my encounter with Christ, being born again, having a testimony and an encounter with the Lord, in which I was born again. So from 2016 to 2018, everything mattered, was a part of that. Everything, all the events were a sort of countdown to my born again experience. Okay, so listen, I'm a Trump supporter. I like Trump. I don't trust Trump all the way. I don't trust anybody. I trust Jesus. But it's important because in 2016, he was elected president and the world fell apart. What was very pertinent to me in my walk at this time was the revelation of WikiLeaks.
WikiLeaks is a non-profit media organization and publisher of leaked documents. For years, emails were hacked and published on both sides of the political parties, and Julian Assange being praised depending on which side was being exposed.
It was the WikiLeaks emails drops, if you have any idea what I'm talking about, that really set the next 2 years in motion spiritually. So I voted Trump, and the blowback, you were there, like it or not, whatever side you were on, you were there. And it was just this huge schism in reality. You remember it. And it was shortly after the election that I came to understand really the depth of those WikiLeaks, specifically talking about the Podestas, Clintons, Obama, all these people spending $60,000 on hot dogs and cheeseburgers. This was what was going to be called Pizzagate. They made it about all this other stuff, and it got very complicated, but it started with this. The Podesta emails that were hacked by Julian Assange and released to the public that looked very bad.
Which is now accumulating in the whole Epstein thing.
As if, perhaps, these people had a huge ring of very bad things I'm not even going to say because I'm trying to keep my channel. But you know what it is, Epstein stuff. This wasn't Epstein stuff, this was the Podestas, this was their emails.
These emails between the Podestas and Clinton also included invitations with Marina Abramovic concerning spirit cooking dinners.
So things got way, way worse very, very quickly from there. I started following this one channel called Truth Stream Media, and they were never left or right. They were really about just all-out corruption. They did this video, and this video changed my life. This video changed everything, the way I saw all of reality. Okay, this is getting really off the regular storytelling in the wind. It exposed for a lot of people, the evil, the darkness of the music industry and all of the pop stars who hang around with this woman, Marina Abramovic. Now, Marina Abramovic, I didn't know anything about this, and there's all this information out about her, and she's like a witch, does witchcraft, is into this crazy thing called spirit cooking. People call it art. People call it this. You can call it whatever you want. If this was me years before, I probably wouldn't have cared at all, except for one thing. There was one thing. Now, this woman, Marina Abramovic, hangs out with everybody. Lady Gaga, Jay-Z. You say, well, they're bohemians. They're weird. So what? Here's the difference. Here's what I saw. It was a question to Marina Abramovic. When is it art and when is it magic? She said, if it is done in a gallery, then it is art. But if it is done, listen to me, in your own home, in the privacy of your home, or on television, it's magic. So she hangs out with Jay-Z, and then you got Beyonce doing this her crazy concerts, asking everybody to give her their energy. It went into a lot of performances. It went into the Super Bowl halftime shows the past 15 years. Like I was not involved in pop culture in the pop music at all. I had no idea about anybody but anything. I don't know anything by Lady Gaga, nothing. Or Beyonce, except to the left, that's it. But I started looking back at some of this content, videos, concerts, and I'm like, what in the Ozzy Osbourne satanic ritual? Not that Ozzy Osbourne did satanic rituals. When I was a kid, I thought he did. I thought it was pretty crazy and cool. This went far beyond what I thought was crazy and cool in the late 80s, early 90s. What these pop stars, mainstream people are doing. So you can see like how this is crazy to me, right? My world is completely shook, and I'm not the only one. There's a like the country, and the world is starting to faction off based on this stuff. So what I read was a real post by this woman, Marina Abramovic. It doesn't take a whole lot to put it together. They're having these dinners, doing spirit cooking dinners in their house, where she said it was magic. Okay. So anyway, I start becoming hyper aware of this, like everything is satanic. There's like everybody's doing Satan stuff. Does everybody worship the devil? And like, oh God, there's a bug on me. I'm not killing him. Okay. So you get the drifts, okay? Of that was the time at the time. I'm sitting with my friend who is not a Christian, but she's like me, pretty spiritual, okay? And I ask her particularly about like, Epstein stuff, okay? Badness, okay? Like older people and younger people doing bad things. I'm like, what drives somebody to do this? Because in the New Age, in Law of Attraction, under the tutelage of Abraham Hicks, I was able to make a justification for just about anything on the entire planet, except that. That was the one thing I couldn't somehow do some spiritual gymnastics and make sense, or you're not going to go to hell, like there's no hell, I said, what makes someone do this? She goes, spirits. So for the first time ever in my life since I'm in New Age, I consider that there are perhaps evil spirits, evil entities. So, because up to this point, this was not something I believed. I could justify that it was us making our, whatever. We were not being influenced by evil forces with evil intentions, which is something that was a scary notion to me, very frightening notion to me that there were. But now I'm actually confronted with the idea that maybe there are. Maybe they actually are. There is evil entities, spirits. Now, what was kind of crazy was that at this point, fall, winter 2016, we are going down now millions of rabbit holes on YouTube, here, there. Like, that's when everything was popping off. That's when everybody was saying crazy stuff all the time, and without being, silenced or censored or banned off the platforms. You could do or say basically anything, and they were. So you were getting all kinds of crazy stuff, and we were jumping down. Madness. At this time, I started getting these very creepy panic attacks, because now I'm starting to look around me in the world thinking I'm living in a bubble of evil. They're programming us. It was starting to go a little wild. And I could also now, looking back, see how now that my eyes were starting to open, I was starting to come under attack. They don't want you turning away, and they will try to hold you in somehow. So this was we were living in a comic book. It was like living in a comic book. But the main concepts that relate to this was the prevalence of darkness and evil, and what seemed to be a satanic ritual ceremony in pop culture over the past 10 years. I had no idea what was happening. I missed out the whole thing of the few things that were really just the amount of abuse, child trafficking, and things in this world. How big this was on all levels. How big it was on all levels. Everything was overwhelming. I don't know how we lived through it. And I'll tell you how we lived through it. Jesus. And here's how and why. In the middle of all of this, I go to a family member's house with my mom, who's like me, And this was shortly after the election, and the people's house we're at are the opposite. And we're standing in their kitchen in this weird silence. And everybody's like looking around like they don't know what to do. Like everyone is so angry. Like, I don't know. Like they're so can't believe what's happening. It's the end of the world, and half their family are Nazis and racist, like, or stupid. You know, it was so heavy duty. And we're standing there in this thick, thick silence, okay? And here I am with all my Abraham Hicks and all the Louise L. Hay in the universe and Reiki and Chokurei and all of the things that I believed I had at my possession at that moment to help deal with what we were dealing with each other. I sat there in my mind, inside, in my heart, spoke out the words silently in my mind, Jesus, please put your hand on this situation right now, please. Jesus, please put your hand on this situation. And within a minute, everyone took a breath. Everybody kind of moved, you know, got their blood flowing again, took a breath and started talking like normal. How are you? How was your week? Blah, blah, blah. What'd you watch on TV? And I believed, like I had that firmness in my soul, like this is what you got to do right now. And it's going to change it. And it did. So it was in moments like that where I knew the only thing I could do was turn to Jesus. And it came instinctively, it came naturally. And when things got really tight like that, Jesus. And I was not a Christian yet. I was still very wrapped up in Abraham Hicks and law of attraction and doing it my way and being a new age influencer, which was something I was starting to think about being. Like I said, these were things set in motion. Everything now is this crazy countdown. So once again, up to this point, I had never believed in evil, but now it was impossible to deny it. And now I'm seeing the world as good or evil. So do you see, like that's starting to set it up too? Because now you're starting to see the wheat and the tares, right? You're starting to see the goats and the sheep, this wasn't me yet, but it's setting it up. Light versus darkness. But again, this did not at the time interfere with law of attraction. In fact, it built it back up. Because now, hang on, let me let this guy walk away. So at this point, like now, I'm digging even deeper into law of attraction because like everything's so crazy. I need a glue. Even though Jesus was the one I called on in those moments, that was not the glue yet to me. The law of attraction was the glue. Me controlling the universe. Oh, and so at this time, again, I'm noticing that the deeper I go into it, the deeper we go into things, the harder the panic attacks are starting to come. The resistance, you're getting backlash. So it was crazy. So it seemed reasonable that you'd be getting panic attacks when your mind is starting to try to process all this stuff and reconcile it and live in the world. Live in this world. And now, like, I really see it mostly as a spiritual attack. It is probably a little bit of both. Okay, but Jesus. So now we're closing in, and now it's getting to be 2017, and a lot goes on, and I'm way over, so I gotta stop. The next thing that happens is Doreen Virtue, a major New Age leader, teacher, a mentor, and all this, turns to Jesus. So that was the beginning of things starting to turn. The ships are now turning the bigger ship. All right, I gotta go. Here's what I was looking at all day. Yay! All right, see you next time.